So because it's Christmas time, of course I had to watch Die Hard, and I'm watching this with a friend of mine, and we are visiting the entire franchise. She's never seen any of them, so I was like, you know what, I might as well talk about these now. I did not take notes during this one, and I did not take notes during the third one either, which is funny because those are my two favorite films in this franchise, with the third being probably my favorite. It's very difficult for me to really rank these, but if I have to give the edge, I'll give it to Die Hard with a Vengeance. Some nostalgia there, I suppose. I watched it a fuckload when I was a kid, but that being said, they're still both like near perfect films, or not if just straight up perfect films. And I'm not here to argue the whole, like, is it a Christmas movie or something? It has fucking Christmas in it, okay? It's a Christmas movie. I don't know. I'm not going to argue about it, though. I think this is such a silly argument that people have. I think they mostly just do it for fun, but anybody who takes that seriously is fucking silly. But anyway, Die Hard. Now I'm going to wing this whole damn thing. There's all sorts of little notes I would love to take, but I don't have them. So I'm just going to have to go off of memory here. Now we've got Officer John McClane, played by Bruce Willis here, who, is an iconic character. One of the great action heroes. I know that originally they didn't want to cast Bruce Willis. They were trying to cast anybody else in this movie. I think this was supposed to be a vessel for Schwarzenegger, wasn't it? Which I'm sure if this was Arnold, we'd all love it, and we'd all be like, could you imagine Bruce Willis trying to be this character? Who knows? I don't know what that world would look like. We know this one, and of course no one else could be John McClane in this universe. But if you were going into an alternate dimension where Arnold or whoever the hell, Stallone or anybody, action heroes we love, if they were to play this role, would we then see them as McClane and could not see anybody else, especially Bruce Willis? I don't know. I don't know. We don't live in that universe, so I can't say. But yeah, Bruce Willis is John McClane, and trying to see anybody else. There's like actors who take characters so iconically that it's like their entire careers attached to it. Like when I think of Bruce Willis as the character I think of, as many great films as he's been in, it doesn't matter. This is his film. Like this is his, iconic role. And this is always what I'm going to think of him first in anytime his name is brought up. He's John McClane. And this movie is just perfect. It's the perfect action movie. It's got everything you could possibly want in it. One thing I think is interesting about this movie is that the character development of this movie is really mostly about John and Hans Gruber. Like, I think that's why it probably works so well, is because we really get to know Hans fairly well, and we really get to know John fairly well, and we don't really get to know almost anybody else in the film. Like, Hans gets much more character development and screen time than, like, Holly does. And I feel like that's a really good template to set for an action film, because you want your hero to work, but you also want your villain to work very well, as and I just think that this film is like that perfect execution of hero and villain. Now, of course, the film that this is going to get put up against at any time is going to be Lethal Weapon. They were made around the same time, same Joe Silver, right? Produced. Music sounds similar. Actors are reused in both. So I get it, and that, like, what's better, because I've also been watching the Lethal Weapon films as well. A little spoiler there for what franchise I'm covering next. I have watched 2 Lethal Weapons and 4 Die Hards, so I'm going to be trying to knock out most of those tonight. But yeah, anyway, picking a favorite of the two, dude, that's near impossible. I think they're both perfect. I love both of them so much. Now, if it's a franchise, we'll save that for the Lethal Weapon stuff, but I guess I could say it here too as well. If I was to pick a film to itself, I guess maybe I'd prefer Lethal or Die Hard as a film, like as a first film, but as a franchise, Lethal Weapon for sure. It has 4 films that I absolutely love. It's like freaking a perfect series. And then Die Hard has some great films, and then obviously like A Good Day to Die Hard is. We'll get to that, but so as a series, Lethal Weapon for sure. But as a single film, maybe Die Hard, but I don't know. Lethal Weapon's also perfect, so that's tough. Anyways, but yeah, so we get John here in the opening, and he's told to make fists with his toes, which he ends up doing, which is of course what makes him barefoot in this movie. So that guy on the plane is responsible for John having to run around without shoes on throughout this whole damn movie, and that's kind of one of the iconic features of this film is that McClane is shoeless throughout, and that's even used against him when Hans tells Carl to shoot the glass. Oh man, imagine cutting your feet up that bad. You can even walk. Like, McClane is so fucked up by the end of this movie and every movie. By the end of this one, and especially like this one and Die Hard with a Vengeance. I guess when McTiernan is directing, he really likes to beat up his heroes. McClane is fucking just wrecked in this film. And then he goes down and he meets our lovable Argyle, the limo driver, and they have a very candid conversation where he's kind of dropped the whole limo driver act, and he has him up front, and he's listening to rap music and trying to talk about his life and all this and that. Argyle seems to hang out for way too long. Like, he's like, hey man, like, go upstairs and then let me know if you're coming back. And he's like sitting down in that garage for hours. It seems like a long ass time. And when John even calls him the first time, he's still like, I don't know, and he's just like, well, take your time. And it's like, aren't you supposed to be driving to Vegas? Like, this is your first day on the job, and you're going to put your entire career at risk for one guy who's not really being all that, like, informative with you, and in addition to that, isn't really super nice to you to begin with. I don't know. It's a little forced. I don't care, though. I love Argyle. I love all this stuff. Why it takes Argyle so long to just drive through the bars that he does at the end of this movie, it makes no sense to me. I don't know. Maybe he's just scared the terrorists are going to kind of get him, and once he knows they're all gotten rid of, but he goes into hero mode, and he knocks out the computer expert guy. I don't know, but I like him. He's a fun character. So there you go. And then John goes in, and he's very upset with Holly for only using his name when she wants to sign checks and this and that. And that's kind of remains a constant throughout this series, at least for sure in this one, and in Live Free or Die Hard, when Lucy McClane is not using McClane, and then when it serves her, she's like, oh, I'm McClane. It's like, I thought it was Gennaro, and she's like, not today. Like, not right now. Not when I need my dad's help. When I'm signing checks, when I need to be, saved from terrorists, like, I'm a McClane, but any other time I'm a Gennaro, and he can fuck off. John must be a very unlikable guy. I mean, realistically, he's just got to be, and I get it, like, he's got to be a very tough husband and father. Like, yeah, he's the badass hero, but he's also very, very flawed. And him and Holly seem to have a very tumultuous relationship throughout this series. So, and as he does with his kids, which is sad. I mean, to see somebody who's this like hero that you look up to, and then to think that they're like a failed father and a failed husband, and that his family only really needs him when they're in peril. That's really tragic, to see throughout this series. But yeah, so anyways, he gets there to Nakatomi Plaza, and he meets everybody for the first time, because she hasn't been working there that long, but they sure as hell treat her like she's been there for a long time, and she's like the saving grace of the joint. and then yeah, and then John and her kind of get into this fight, and I like that John kind of beats himself up for it after. You can tell that his temper gets the best of him, but he has like a good heart under it. Like he doesn't really think in the moment. Like he's just kind of embracing. He has his temper, which makes him a good cop, and he makes him a good terrorist or bad guy eliminator, but it doesn't make him the best father or husband. So that's real sad for sure. And then he meets Holly's coked out fucking business partner here, who ends up getting himself killed trying to expose John. This guy's such a dickhead, but I think he's like a perfect interpretation of that like businessman who, and we have a lot of these types of people here in Sedona, these fucking timeshare salesmen, pieces of shit. God, they're all just dreadful human beings. They really are. Like he even says in this, like, you use a gun, I use a fountain pen. What's the difference? Dude, not much. You hit the nail right fucking on the head there, asshole. Like, he's awful, and him getting shot means nothing to me in this movie, outside of like, just, yes, I'm so sick of this fucking prick. So yeah, his performance is great though. I really like the actor who plays him, so good on him for that. But I always like that. And then we got some memorable faces in here. We've got oh god, what's his name? The little Asian dude who's in Lethal Weapon. That's why I was saying there's reoccurring character actors in here. He's in Big Trouble in Little China. He's in fucking everything. But I think what he would be known best for would probably be Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure as Genghis Khan. I know the guy's name. I actually have it written down. Leon. Yeah, Leong. I wrote it down on my notes because I do know the guy's name. Al Leong. Yes. See, I remembered. I don't need my damn notes. That's my Lethal Weapons notes because he's in that movie. But yeah, you got him. You've got the bad guy from Ghostbusters 2 in here. Who else? What other familiar faces are in here? Maybe I'll think of somebody else. But anytime I see Carl in this, of course, I'm reminded of that scene from, what is it? I Love You Man? Or is it... Yeah, I think it's I Love You Man when he's talking to, like... Or is it Funny People? What the fuck movie is that where the guy looks like Carl from Die Hard and he's, like, making fun of him like, hey, I loved you in Die Hard. That was pretty funny. Anytime I see it, I always think about that moment. But I can't even remember what fucking movie it is. Anyway, so John gets away and he runs off and he wreaks havoc on these guys. And I feel like every scene, like, even though the film is very repetitive, like, he's upstairs and then they send a couple guards at him, or guards, they send a couple bad guys at him and he kills them. And then, they send a couple more and he kills them, and they send a couple more and they kills them. I guess if you were to look at it like that, honestly, this is the first time I'm even noticing that is repetitious. Now, granted, that's kind of the formula of these movies, but I could see people who are not into this shit being like, dude, this is just the same thing over and over again. But it's just the way everything's done in this film, the dialogue between John and the henchmen, the villains in this, and how those scenes all play out. The first guy who comes upstairs, and I don't think he's probably gonna believe that you don't want to hurt him when you fire the gun. Like, he comes around the corner, he fires so many bullets into a spot where he doesn't even see a person. That was not a good choice there, dumb fuck. And then John and him get into this big fight, and he snaps his neck going down the stairs. And the guy seems to be much bigger than him, but somehow has much smaller feet than John. This seems extremely unbelievable to me, but, I guess it's possible. I mean, I guess not all big dudes have huge feet. I mean, I wear size 14. It would have been interesting if John was like, dude, these shoes are way too big for me. And he was like, keeps trying to walk and he keeps falling out of them. That would have been just as good. But the guy having smaller feet, I don't know. That just doesn't seem realistic in the slightest, but it's a silly gripe. It's not a gripe at all. I just find it to be kind of funny. And then, yeah, I mean, as the movie goes on, we get introduced to Al, to Sergeant Al Powell. Al Powell. It's kind of a hard name to say. Or as we would better know him, Carl Winslow from Family Matters. Love him in this. And I love that he makes a cameo in Die Hard 2. It just, you know, it does make me almost in a way wish that Die Hard with a Vengeance would have been him and Al, because in part 2 they're like working together. Like he's a cop in LA, and he calls up Al, where they both work together, which is really cool. I like that happened, that they end up being buddy cops together. But you could see, I mean, if you're gonna have the the black white buddy cop movie in Die Hard with a Vengeance. Now, would I love Die Hard with a Vengeance. I think Samuel Jackson is phenomenal as Zeus, and I wouldn't want to change it at all. But I'm just saying, like, it would make sense to me if I was like thinking about making that movie to making it Al. You know what I mean? It just feels like that. But I don't. Al's too nice. I don't think that would have played the same way. But maybe it would have worked. Maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. But you know, we got what we got, which is great. But Al's great in this. And then you got the chief, Dwayne. I'm not the one that just got butt fucked on national television. Dwayne, I love that, and I love Argyle's laugh after he says that to him. All that shit's fucking fantastic. Love seeing him. Love the FBI agents. You got the Big Johnson and Little Johnson, and Little Johnson's played by a guy named Grand Bush. Like, this is just too funny. Like, what's your name in this movie? Little Johnson. What's your real name? Grand Bush. Okay, come on. But what are your real names here? Like, there's that, you just can't write that shit. It's too funny to me. And then you got Robert Davi, whatever, playing Big Johnson, which of course Grand Bush is in Lethal Weapon, and we've got a lot of reoccurring people in both Lethal Weapon and in Die Hard. And then, of course, I mean, we got Hans Gruber himself, played by Alan Rickman, who's phenomenal. And I know a lot of people know this guy as Severus Snape from the Harry Potter films. But any, 30-plus-year-old man is going to know this guy as Hans Gruber. He will always be Hans Gruber. Anytime I watch Harry Potter, it's always like, why is Hans Gruber teaching potions? Like, wasn't he dropped off of Nakatomi Plaza? But yeah, I mean, not enough good can be said about how iconic and memorable his performance is in this film. And I'd be saying that whether he was alive or dead. I would have said that 10 years ago. I would have said that the day I watched this movie for the first time. He's just phenomenal in this film. He's one of the most memorable villains of all time. His performance is great. I love everything about it. I love everything about every villain in this movie. Everyone's memorable to me. You know, even the guy who's on top of the table and he's giving John the advice that he ends up using on him 5 seconds later. Thanks for the advice. Where you going, buddy? You're all at the table. Like, I love it. So funny. And then, one of my most used lines ever is when he, throws the body on Al's car and he's like, "Welcome to the party, pal." I always thought that was John shooting at Al when I was much younger, and then I realized later on that it was obviously one of the terrorists once the thing hits. I mean, John wouldn't fire on the guy. I was always very confused on why John was firing on him. I'm like, dude, you could kill him. What is he doing? And then I realized that it was obviously somebody else, but I don't know why I thought that when I was younger, because I was an idiot, that's why. But yeah, Al he's such a great character. Everybody's so great in this, even like short amount of time, and I think that's just good casting, mixed with good directing. I mean, the directing in this is great, and the whole feud between John and Carl throughout this is good, and I like how when they finally have their showdown, he tells him, Like when they're fighting, like he goes off about killing his brother and all this shit. Now, how Carl survives is just, come on. I mean, come on. There's no fucking way he survives. And how he gets down into the, into the town, little square there with all of them, into the front of the plaza or whatever. This is stupid. This is just like a dumb moment in the end for, for Al to draw his gun and to get over the fact. And everyone's like, oh my God, it's celebrating that he just killed somebody. Like, oh, it's like, welcome back to the force. You murdered somebody. Murder is a harsh word. I mean, they do clearly deserve to be shot. But yeah, it's just a funny scene to me. I think it's a silly ass scene for sure, but it is what it is. And then Al's like gun happy. He's like trigger happy there after that, because then Argyle busts through and he's like got the gun up, and John's like, no, he's with me. Like he's like, all right, now that I let the cat back out of the bag, just starts shooting everybody. So that's pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, not taking notes is tough. Like there's so many things, of course, I would love to talk about. There's so many lines, there's so many moments, but at the same time, I don't want to make this too damn long. But this is one of my favorite films. It's definitely a film I would put in the top 100 greatest films ever made, easily. I don't know where that would place, and that would be the hardest fucking list to ever make, ever, and it would be adjusted all the time. But this is definitely on the list. Predator's on that list. Lethal Weapon would be on that list. Like, I probably could name about 300 movies off the top of my head that would make the top 100, so it'd be very contradictory very quickly. But yeah, I'm trying to think of like other scenes that I absolutely adore in this film, outside of just like everything. I mean, we got the yippee-ki-yay motherfucker line, which he, I guess is said a couple times in this movie. I love the way Hans says it when he kind of repeats it back to him. He's like, "What is it that you said? Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker." The way he says motherfucker, all in like one word, even though it is one word, I just like the way he kind of like jumbles it all together. And then John starts laughing. He has the gun taped to his back, and boom. Yeah, it's all so good. I mean, I think we all know. For the most part, I don't know anybody that doesn't like Die Hard. Do you know anybody that doesn't like Die Hard? That just seems insane to me. Like, what's there not to like here? It's fucking great, man. Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho. Like, yeah, I mean, every line is memorable to me. I mean, you can pretty much throw almost any line at me in the film. Come up to me and introduce yourself as Bill Clay. I'm going to instantly be like, are we talking Die Hard here? Like, every single thing in the fucking film is memorable to me. I love it. I love it so much. What else? This is why notes are good. But yeah, I don't know. I don't got much else to say. I love the film, as you guys know. I remember when I was sitting there watching it, I was like, oh man, I'd love to mention this. I'd love to mention that. Like little stupid things. But I don't know why the little Al Young's character in this has to like look around as he steals a candy bar. Like, is everyone, like, people are going to be looking at him like, what, is he not taking his job seriously right now? Like, you can take a candy bar. It's all good. Go for it. It's just stupid things like that I've always noticed. And then Argyle being able to knock out that dude in one little punch like that's got to be one of the pussiest ass punches that's ever knocked a guy out, ever, outside of like Manos the Hands of Fate, if you've ever seen that movie. How easily the dad's knocked out in that, it's hilarious. And yeah, I don't know, I'm not going to prolong the video just so that I could find cute little extra things. And as soon as I press stop on this, I'm going to be furious with myself for not mentioning this and that and all of these other things. But what are your favorite scenes from this movie? Like, what's your favorite line in the film? Whether it's the when he's down in the little air shaft. Like, cause like Family Guy has parodied multiple scenes from this film. And yeah, I want to know what's your favorite scene. Who's your favorite non Hans Gruber bad guy? All that stuff. Like, and tell me your experience with this film. I mean, we all watched this at a certain age. I mean, I was watching this when I was a small kid, and it's always left this incredible impression on me. Now, would this film, if released today, be as beloved? That's always a question I have for these older films. As like sacred as these films are, would they hold a candle today? I don't know. I mean, I think it's such a different time. I don't know. Maybe not. It's a great movie, so maybe great movies are just universal, and it wouldn't matter when you release them. But if you release Gone with the Wind these days, I don't think anyone outside of a certain group of people would like it very much. But at the time when it came out, everybody fucking loved it. So would Die Hard work today if released exactly how it is? I don't know. That's such an impossible question to answer, but let me know what you think. Anyways, guys, yeah, I'll get to Die Hard 2 when I can. Doing all these in a row is rough. I don't know if I can do any more tonight. We'll see.